Hi, welcome back. I hope you all had a great break. We're now moving on to session 2. And this session highlights the incredible power of peer-to-peer support. Our panel of Retina UK volunteers and service users will share their personal experiences, demonstrating how connecting with others can be a vital source of strength. Please give a warm welcome to our wonderful Retina UK volunteers and service users and Paula McGrath, Deputy CEO of Retina UK.
Thank you, Lauren. Good morning, everybody. I'm absolutely delighted to welcome you to this session, whether you're here in the room with us in Manchester or joining us from home. We've heard from Helen and Denise and Bhavini about how the new eye care support pathway can guide and inform you and your family when accessing practical and emotional support throughout your inherited sight loss journey. From that initial appointment through to diagnosis and on to living well with your condition. Denise has also mentioned some of the wide range of information and support available from Retina UK, free of charge to you all. And that's there to enable you to live your best life in the way that you choose. Now, as you've heard this morning, lived experience is at the heart of everything we do at Retina UK, and today is no different. For the next hour, I'm delighted to be joined by 5 of our community, all of whom live with inherited sight loss. They've kindly agreed to share their experiences with us today so that we can learn from them, and for that we are very grateful. They're going to talk to us about their experiences of accessing support specifically through Retina UK, services that are only possible due to our wonderful volunteers, and services that always have peer-to-peer support at their very heart. Whether that's through our growing network of local peer support groups, online special interest groups, talk and support service or discover wellbeing, whether in a group, one-to-one, face-to-face or online. We're going to hear how these welcoming safe spaces and the connections made have the power to develop your knowledge, your skills and confidence, and ultimately help you take more control of your situation. We ensure that no one need feel alone when living with inherited sight loss. They're also going to talk to us about their experience of volunteering with Retina UK and what it means to them. Now, I know our guests have a wealth of experience between them to share with us today, so first of all, I'd like to invite them to introduce themselves, just to say there'll be plenty of time for questions at the end of the session. So, James, would you like to tell me a bit about yourself, your condition, and how it affects you, please?
Yep. Hi, everyone. I was aware of sight loss when I was a child, not because I was diagnosed with it then. My mum had night blindness, and she'd used us as children to help her navigate around. And it wasn't until I was 20 years old that I had the same night blindness, and I thought, I'm going to have the same condition as my mother. And that did actually turn out to be true. I was diagnosed with retinitis pigmentosa when I was 40 years old. That was 8 years ago. 4 years ago, I was told that I'm legally blind. I do still have central vision. Luckily, I'm still able to work. I run a cancer research laboratory in London. I'm still very grateful that I can get out and work. So,
thank you, James. Rachel.
Hi, I'm Rachel Zimbler. My sight condition was first noticed around the age of 16 years of age. I started to struggle with night blindness, being clumsy, sort of falling over things. Excuse me, my parents would put out maybe a chair with a coffee table or something, and I would floor it. And they just thought I was being very clumsy. I went to the opticians and they said I had astigmatism. They then sent me to my local eye clinic in Stockport, and they said I had retinitis pigmentosa, that progressively I would go blind. They couldn't tell me when or where, and at that current time, in 1996, there was no cure, there was nothing they could do, and I should just go off and live my life, which is what I did. And then I got married to my previous husband, and I wanted to find out what my condition was. We wanted to have children, and so in 2012 I was genetically tested, and I found out I had a condition which my condition is called Bardet-Biedl syndrome. So the way the syndrome affects me is it affects my sight. So I don't have a lot of sight left. I can still see if there's enough light in to get about using a white cane. I also have epilepsy, which I haven't had a seizure now since 2013, touch wood, medication works. I have type 2 diabetes, and also with the syndrome, my hypothalamic valve in my brain doesn't tell me I'm full, so I have hunger, so I'm quite a big person, have to be careful of what I eat, exercise, etc. So that's the way Bardet-Biedl affects me.
Thank you, Rachel. Steve?
Yeah, I didn't know there was anything wrong with my sight. For quite a long time, I was in my late 30s. I had been in the fire brigade, and I suddenly had to start wearing glasses full time. So that was me out of that. Then about a year later, I started getting like flashing lights in my eyes and trouble seeing at night. I went to my local hospital, to their eye department, and I was going there about 5 years before I got sent to Moorfields. The problem was, with my RP, there was no change in the colour on the retina, so it wasn't picked up. But Moorfields diagnosed me, and at that diagnosis, they told me that I had to stop driving immediately because I'd lost so much peripheral vision. My condition is caused by a mutation on chromosome CLN3, which normally causes another disease called juvenile Batten's disease, which is very life-shortening and very severe. But in my case, and only about 50 people worldwide at the time I was diagnosed, it had just caused the eye condition.
Thank you, Steve.
Okay.
Pam?
My name is Pam Batchu. I was diagnosed with the inherited retinal disease through a routine eye examination. My daughter needed glasses. She kept going towards the TV and the whiteboard at school. She said, I can't see, so I kept pulling her back. And I thought, while I'm here, as I was a driver, I'll get my eyes tested. Half an hour, my daughter rocks up with a nice pair of glasses, and I was still in there 2 hours later. And I was told immediately to rush to go to A&E. So a few months later, I went through aggressive tests, and I was diagnosed with what they called retinal dystrophy. Even though I had no significant sight loss or any deterioration, I had my license revoked. Things started to change, and my license in my late 40s was taken. That's when I knew this was real. Had significant peripheral loss. Even though central vision was good, it was not enough to meet the legal parameters to drive. I also lost a career which I loved, so I suffered with night blindness, difficulty in very bright light, and also not being able to see, my daughter's face or my family's faces, which was really heart-wrenching. So I am very lucky that I still work for a local sight loss charity, and as I was saying, my condition has changed. I was also diagnosed with Usher's, so the genetic testing was really important. And I also suffer with that lovely Charles Bonnet, so it follows me around sometimes. So you do see, funny things, but I see flowers and teacups flying around. So if I look a bit dazed, it's not because I've totally lost it. I'm still in the room, but it's things flying around. But it could affect my hearing, but at the moment, I'm very fortunate. I can still hear quite well. Thank you, Paula.
Thank you, Pam. I'm getting the impression from the audience that most people know what Charles Bonnet is, but if you don't, it's visual hallucinations. So if you are troubled by that and you want to know more, do have a chat with one of the team while you're here today, and we can talk to you about that. Thank you, Pam.
Thank you.
Michelle.
I'm Michelle Tomlinson. I have a form of RP called LCA, which is Lebus congenital amaurosis. It's quite a rare and aggressive form of RP. When I was 2 years old, I got measles really bad. I was really poorly, and I lost a massive chunk of my vision. And at the time, they thought it was the measles that had caused it. But when I was 8 years old, I went for an appointment, and the doctors said that they thought it was RP because I had the black dots at the back of the eye, loss of peripheral vision and the night blindness. And then as I grew up, it gradually got worse. Because the positive thing, though, of having it such a young age is that they put things in place early on. So I learnt to type at the age of 5 on the old typewriters. So I'm sort of, you know, I'm able to work still because I have quite good technology typing skills. I've learnt to use like apps because obviously when you can't see very well, obviously we live in like quite a digital world now. So I feel lucky that I was able to learn those skills really early on, which I think has helped me a lot to sort of keep up with everything. Obviously, it does affect your mobility, getting around. I had a guide dog for a while. I don't have a guide dog anymore, but you know, so it does affect you in many ways. But I have managed to build up different skills. Yeah.
Thank you, Michelle. And I'll stay with you, actually. I wonder if you could tell us what was your first introduction to Retina UK, and when was that?
Okay, so I had a little boy 14 years ago, and up till then, my sight was sort of okay, but when I had my little boy, it really deteriorated. I think it was the pregnancy, I think, that made it worse. And I sort of started struggling a lot more, and I was starting to get quite down. And what happened was I started looking for things, I started researching, and I found a local sight loss charity. And I went along to one of the support groups, and it was very elderly people, like say in their 80s, 90s. There was even a lady that was 100. And I went there, and I was looking for young mums like myself. I was looking for support, and I really enjoyed the day. The ladies were lovely, but I just felt alone, like I didn't belong, like I was the only young person losing my sight. Obviously, they'd all lost it due to age, so they'd all had their children with vision. They'd all sort of worked with vision driven, you know, all of those things that I hadn't. So I was like, this isn't for me. I was quite upset, got even more depressed and down. And my dad told me about, it was RP Fighting Blindness at the time, but he told me about them, and I was very reluctant because I thought, oh, it might be all old people again, you know, I thought, I'm going to give it a go. So I went along to, it was like a conference like this, went along, met some lovely people, realised that there was so many working age people like myself, and I found out about the helpline, the RP helpline, and I rang up, and lo and behold, the lady that answered was a young lady. She had, I think, teenage girls at the time, and she was able to totally relate about changing nappies and feeding and getting your kids out and about, and I honestly felt like so many, like, I don't know, I just felt relief at finding like somebody that was like me and being able to talk and laugh and share. So from then on, obviously, I've been quite involved with Retina UK, just from there, really.
Thank you, Michelle. We're very pleased that you found us. Pam, would you like to tell us?
I came to finding about Retina UK, looking at Dr. Google, which we shouldn't do really, but I did. And I found the support line number, and I was looking at it from a point of view as to finding if there's any, you know, research, because I'm quite a bit of a geek really on the quiet. And I thought there's got to be something, is it vitamins? And I thought, let's just look up retinol. And there popped up Retina UK, and then I rang the number. This was in the second lockdown, November 2021, so you can imagine all being isolated, not in our social bubbles, missing family, living on my own. I'm thinking, you know, my brain was doing overtime, and I was quite down. So, lovely voice on the other end. He's going to get mentioned a lot this afternoon. Is our lovely Mark Baxter, and he picked up the phone and said hello. and an hour and a half later, I was still on the phone to him, and I couldn't stop laughing. I laughed from the belly all the way up, and believe you me, I'm glad, because it was the best thing I did. And Mark actually then, you know, kind of gave me reassurance, his kindness in his voice, but also I'd like to say it was the best thing I did, because I said if any opportunities come up, either research or anything. So in January 2022, I had a phone call, again Mark Baxter, and he says, would you like to lead our West Midlands group? He says, there's some changes. And I said, yes. And 3 years on, I am here. Testament to say that it has changed my life. And it's also empowered me that I can do things. Because I was at a point in my life where I was really low. Lockdown, I think, changed a lot of things for all of us and seeing the world differently. And the online platform was the best thing I did. So, Mark, it's all down to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Pam. I will bring Mark up briefly at the end of the session, just to embarrass him. Thank you, Pam.
Thank you.
So, moving on to James.
Yeah, so my first interaction with Retina UK, so when I was diagnosed at Susan Downs Clinic at John Radcliffe Hospital in Oxford, I was given this big bag of leaflets, you know, as you do when you leave following your diagnosis. So I did read them when I got home, and I found Retina UK, and I joined that afternoon. Since joining, I did run a half marathon. That was before COVID. That was the Great Parks Marathon in London, very enjoyable. Then after that, during COVID, I was at Maidenhead Station. I was heading into London, and I saw a lady with a white cane. I didn't approach her because of COVID, but she got on a train, disappeared, and I thought it's quite sad. There must be a lot of people that are a bit isolated because of COVID and being visually impaired, etc. I wrote to Retina UK and I said, you know, is there any like local groups, etc. And they says, well, believe it or not, we're starting to set up these groups nationally called peer support. And they said, after speaking to Mark, he said, do you want to be the coordinator in the Berkshire area? And I tore his arm off for it. So, and that's what I do. So,
Thank you. And we'll talk a little bit more a bit later about your volunteering experiences. Steve.
Yeah, well, after my diagnosis at Moorfields, I had another appointment at my local hospital where I was given a leaflet for what was then the British Retinitis Pigmentosa Society. That's how long ago we're talking. And so I got in touch with them, and they had a peer group in Woking, which was quite close to where I am. So I went to that for several years. Unfortunately, due to the sale of the hall that we met in, that group closed. And then for quite a number of years, I was left to my own devices. I was getting the newsletter from Retina UK, you know, the quarterly magazine, but I didn't feel that I had anything that I really needed to sort of get in touch with them about, apart from not meeting other people with the same condition. Then COVID came along, and Mark Baxter again started up the online national peer support group. I went along to that. Well, I went along to it. I joined it. Got talking to Mark. We started discussing different things that each of us have made. And he suggested that I become a volunteer, which I did very recently because he's started a new group called the Lads Peer Support Group, and I'm helping him with a room that he calls the Tool Shed, because I've got a sort of a background in woodwork and metalwork, fairly good knowledge of power tools, so we sort of look at that and how someone with a visual impairment can make something and use power tools in a sort of a positive way, maybe with a little bit of help, but that's the type of thing that we're looking at.
I would just like to say Mark Baxter isn't on commission, but we'd be happy to talk to you about getting involved in any of the groups. Rachel.
Hi. So my slant's slightly different. At the time, when I was 16, Mum and Dad sort of Googled, and we were trying to find out what benefits, where we could go for support. And we found through the DWP, the job centre, we found Steve Golden, which hopefully is in the room again today.
Steve Golden.
Steve was massive. He was the information for us. He told us about, at the time, I think again it was British Retinitis Pigmentosa Society and then RP Fighting Blindness. He told us about the branch meetings that took place in the Northwest, which Carol Holmes and Beryl Duggan ran. They used to have the RAG weekends in Blackpool, so we went along to those, got a lot of information from them, and didn't really have any involvement. I didn't really need it at the time. You know, I was in my early 20s, just getting on with life. And it wasn't until my first marriage ended in 2014 that I didn't have anyone I knew in the world of visual impairment. Couldn't find anyone in Manchester, couldn't find anyone in Stockport that was my age. So I went to an RP information day in Birmingham. And again, fell across Steve and Carol. But I also found some other people who were my age, who told me about the world of my syndrome as well, which was good, about BBS. But chatting to one of the ladies who was there, she was on the helpline herself, volunteered, and did a group in Manchester. She got me involved with that group, which I'm now the chair of that group, and she told me about Retina UK. During lockdown, I tried to become a volunteer with Retina UK, but it had to be put on hold because of the joys of COVID and lockdown. And then in September 2020, I was contacted again by Claire, at the time the volunteer manager, and she said, put your application in and just wait, and that's what I did. And in October 2021, we launched the Manchester Local Peer Support Group. We've been running now for nearly 3 years, and the group's grown from strength to strength. And from doing the local peer support group, I also volunteer on the talk and support group with a lovely gentleman that I speak to. And I also facilitate jointly with my husband. We jointly run the talking travel peer support group too. So.
Thank you, Rachel. Michelle, could you just tell us what support services you're involved with?
Yeah, so I'm involved with talk and support. So what talk and support is basically it's basically a phone call. So myself or one of the other talk and support volunteers are matched up with somebody who wants some support. Mark again is the person who can help match. And so he will look at who he thinks you'll match well with, like say you've got similar hobbies or interests. And then, so the good thing about talk and support is it's a phone call, so you don't need to be able to meet face-to-face or online. So it's great for those people who say are not close by to any of the local groups. I'm currently talking to a lady who's quite high up in Scotland, so she's quite isolated. So talk and support is very good, you know, if you're in that situation. You can have a weekly or a fortnightly, a monthly sort of phone call. It's quite informal, so it's like a friendly chat. It's not, you don't have to just chat about sight loss. You know, it's there to just, in case you're feeling isolated or lonely or you want practical advice from somebody who's been through all the things you go through with losing your vision. So, you know, if you want to speak to somebody, you know, just get in touch. There's loads of us as well, so, you know, you'll be matched up. I also do Discover Wellbeing, so Denise was talking earlier about the 5 stages of sight loss. And we have sort of modules that you can work through online. And it's like a little video, but then after you've watched the video, there's like little tasks to help with your well-being. So you don't have to go through that well-being journey alone. There's volunteers like myself that can support you through that. So that's an option as well. So if you want somebody to support you through that, then get in touch.
Thank you. I'm interested to hear a bit more about the difference that being involved in these services make for you from both a practical and an emotional perspective. James, can I come to you first? Could you tell us?
Yeah, so the group that I'm involved in, peer support in the Berkshire area, we meet up once a month. It's a great opportunity to meet others, share experiences. I had a comment not so long ago from someone that he'd never met anyone else with RP, and he is the only one that, you know, he'd never met anyone else with the same symptoms. It's those little isms, like you don't see a handshake, you can't find a door handle, you drop something, you can't pick it up, etc. So I think it's just sharing these experiences and just giving reassurance that, you know, you're not alone. I think that's quite important.
Thank you. And Pam?
For me, with Retina UK and also being peer support for the West Midlands area, it actually brings people together. And bless you in the audience. I'll take the commission afterwards, sorry. But for me, I actually delivered a talk at Aston University Patient Information Day, and I actually had some live testimonials. It says, you can read things. Well, I can't read things anymore, so I thought, let's hear it from the group members themselves. And the thing that they actually really highlighted is that it brings people together of all ages, of all cultures, and it doesn't really matter at what level of sight loss you have or you haven't. It brings not only them, but their families together. Two of them actually stood up, and it actually really warmed my heart, brought tears to my eyes, to be honest. They said it stopped the loneliness that they were feeling. Even though some were in families, some were on their own, it kind of abated that isolation that we all feel with sight loss. And it was actually warming to hear that they said their mental health was a lot better with the groups. And it's also getting people not just from to venue, it's ensuring that they actually get a great experience from going out the front door. Transportation, ensuring that where we go, it's cheap. So we kind of combine them online and also doing them face-to-face. But you cannot beat that face-to-face interaction. And people always say, what are we doing next? Where are we going next? And I say, it's your group, it's not mine. What would you like to do? And it's given them empowerment, and the group has gone from strength to strength. It's growing. When I did actually take over the group in January 2020, I had a blank canvas to work on. So I was scratching my head as to how I would approach this. So it was the best thing I did, and I feel very humble and very honoured to be here today, as my sight loss just not only affected me, but it affected my family as well. So volunteering is the best thing I did. It's given me passion, ability to know that my disability shouldn't stop me or anyone else enjoying a quality of life which we are deserved to have. Thank you.
Thank you. Steve, can you tell us a bit about your involvement with the men's group?
Okay, well that all came about. I actually sent Mark one of my creations, which is a dragon, and in fact today we've got one on the front desk that's up for auction, along with Mark's teddy bear, so you're all welcome to bid for that. So I sent him this dragon, and that's what made him say to me that it would be a good idea for me to volunteer. So, because I've got sort of a background of doing carpentry. I was a wood machinist. So, yeah, I've got quite a bit of background in that. And the first national peer support group that I went to, joined, which Mark was hosting, is a real eye-opener. It made me realise that you know, I'm not alone. There are others like it, and it doesn't matter where you are in the country. You can join the national one or any online one. So it doesn't have to be a group in your area. If they're speaking about a subject that you're interested in, you can go along to any group, whether it be Berkshire, Scotland, wherever. Everybody is welcome to join whichever group they like.
Thank you. And so much of this is about not what you can't do, but what you can do, isn't it? And doing things differently and working out and learning from others, the ways that others have adapted, and whether that might help you, particularly Steve, with you with your power tools, which...
Yeah, my wife has kittens every time I go in the garage.
Yes, I'm not surprised. Michelle, what difference does it make for you?
I love being a volunteer. I feel like we are, as humans, we're here to serve and help other people. And I feel that me having these challenges and struggles is not for nothing. If I can help somebody else, then it's all worth it. And I would just say, we want to help, we're here to help. We give up our time for you. So if you're sitting there in the audience today and you're thinking, I'm not sure whether I want to, you know, I'm not sure what it's like, or, you know, we're all different. There's so many different diverse people on the team. So just give us a ring, email, anything, go online, and we want to help you. So,
thank you. And I just wanted to pick up on the importance of being with other people with inherited sight loss. So we know there are many organisations, excellent organisations, that provide support. But for you, why is it different being with other people with a progressive condition? Perm, can I come to you with that question?
Yes, of course. For me, I think it's important to know that there is a community out there to support. When I was actually Googling Dr. Google again, we always say do not do Dr. Google because it's dangerous. It's good, but it's dangerous because it can give you the wrong information. Now, I wouldn't have realised that with my one eye condition, the macular edema was picked up. So there's a multitude of things that came with it. And I had this hunger and thirst then to find out, you know, is anyone else suffering what I'm suffering? Am I the only female, you know, my age, because of being second generation Indian, because disability is still, you know, kind of not spoken about very openly. And I wanted to actually be a force to be reckoned with. I thought, no, if anyone's going to push barriers, it'd be me. So finding out what was available from the point of view of research that Retina UK did, that's what really, but then Mark obviously picked up the phone, persuaded me otherwise. And it's important to know that the community that we are serving and that we're helping, even if we can help one person. I was under a duvet and I was in a very, very, sorry, I don't mean to get emotional. I was in a very dark place and it was affecting my family. My father isn't here at the weekend, but my mum's here. She's seen how I've changed in 5 years because I didn't want to die. I wanted to get up and say, if there is anything or any organisation, please come to Retina UK. I'm very lucky that I've managed to find a job helping people in the sight loss sector. But I've reinvented myself and, you know, please don't give up hope. If you've got a family member or a child, the next generation are the ones that we need to look at, you know, who any inherited diseases. People say, well, you don't look blind. I mean, is there, you know, what is blind? And I think having a cane and having names with them, with my aides. So Stefan's on the floor at the moment, so he's fast asleep. But it's important to know that we belong and that Retina UK are there, not just for, you know, the various services, but we have all got the condition, so we do understand.
Thank you. Rachel, I wanted to ask you how it feels in your group. Should we just say a big shout out to the Manchester posse, because I think they're here today. Manchester. How does it feel in your group accepting that people are going to be at different stages of their journey with sight loss? So you may have some people in the group that are quite newly diagnosed and may still have a good level of sight. You may have others who have no vision. How does that work within your group environment?
So my group is of all ages. We've got people in their early 20s up to their 80s. We have new people come in. I run the group every other month. So sometimes we have it online, depending on what the speaker is. But the majority of the time we try to have it in person. So we have it in central Manchester, so it's easy access for bus, train, transport networks. We have it where we have a speaker and then we have a social element, because most people like to come together, have a chat. Just because you're living with sight loss, you don't want to talk about sight loss all the time. You know, people want to come together, they want to talk about sport, the theatre, the cinema, music, you name it. So in the group that I run, we have people of all sight levels. Some of our group are very newly diagnosed, some are, their journey's a lot longer down the line, but the group are very, very supportive. So probably every other month I've been getting somebody new come to the group, and we welcome them with open arms. You know, sometimes it is difficult for people who still have some sight, seeing others that use a guide, have a guide dog or use a white cane. You know, it can be quite daunting, accepting and adapting to your sight loss, but we're all there to support each other. So those that are a bit further down the line can answer the questions that people have. So you know, the questions that you might think, who do I ask? So when you're in a room together and you're all living with an inherited retinal dystrophy, you can come together, you can ask those questions, and you don't feel scared, you don't feel ashamed or afraid to ask. And that's both the main reason, you know. The group that I run, I love it, absolutely love volunteering with Retina UK. Since I left work in 2017, I had to leave on ill health grounds at the age of 36. So it was, what do I do after working in the local council for 16 years? What do I do? And so for me and my mental health, it gives me a purpose that I volunteer. I'm probably busier now not working than I was actually working, because I volunteer with 4 different charities. But I love it, I absolutely love it, and I love bringing the group together. And the way I look at it is, if I just help one person who is alone, isolated, doesn't know anyone, they come together, and once they've been to the group once, they do know everybody. We have a WhatsApp group, we swap numbers, we share stuff. If we don't meet in person, we meet online. And it's great that this year's conference is in Manchester. So I know a few of you are staying on after the conference tonight. We will be having a drink and a meal and just chatting, having a laugh, and, you know, you can just carry on with life. Life's not over just because you get a diagnosis of sight loss. You know, there's so much out there. I've done loads since my sight has deteriorated. I've been to Australia. In the last 3 months, I've got married. You know, my husband's totally blind as well, and between the pair of us, we just show people that there is life can be lived, but you have to adapt, and you have to adapt to it, and it will take time. It doesn't happen overnight, and don't get me wrong, there's times where I still have meltdowns, there's times where I still are adapting to my sight changing, and that will always be, but I've got a good support network through friends, through family, and through meeting people through Retina UK. All the volunteers in the room, they've all become my family, my extended family. So all I would say is, if you're in the room today, reach out. There's so many of us in the room. Reach out, come and chat to us, and, you know, we're all very friendly, and, yeah, just come and have a chat.
Thank you, Rachel. Yeah. I'm conscious that not everybody has a lot of time to give with volunteering. Rachel, you're giving a huge amount of your time. James, I know you're still working in a demanding job. How do you manage to balance sort of the volunteering you're doing and your peer support group with that?
So I chair the online meeting once a month. It goes on for an hour, so it's not a lot of time in a busy schedule. It's easily manageable. As I said, it's once a month. That's online. Maybe half of the year we meet in Reading on a Saturday. We'll have a lunch together. It's quite a nice thing, you know, a social, getting to meet new people, as I said. As Rachel already said, we also have a WhatsApp group, so you can communicate with people. So, yeah, it does not consume a lot of my time, in all honesty, and it's a very nice thing to do.
Thank you. And Michelle, how do you balance working with your volunteering?
So I do talk and support. So I have to schedule my calls in an evening, or say like on a Saturday morning. So, you know, it is hard. I would love to do more. I really would. I'd love to take on more people, and do more. But it's tough, but it's doable. And yeah, it's doable for me, what I do.
Thank you. Before we go to questions, I'd just like to give each of you the opportunity to share one message with those who are here with us today. Pam, what would you say to people?
I would say, see where you're going to be in the not too distant future, not only for yourselves but your families and your children, the next generation. If I can do it, you can do it. We are able, and we are confident and proud. Embrace the disability. It's hard. Embrace the volunteering. I never thought I'd be doing what I'm doing. But believe you me, I've done more being visually impaired. I'm not complacent. And boy, I am happy that I have. I'm glad. I'm here with everyone today and in the room. We've all got different sight loss conditions and journeys, but I wouldn't have done it. I wouldn't change a thing. That's one thing I said, just go for it. Just embrace.
Thanks, Pam. James?
I guess my message would be, if there's not a peer support group in your area, get in touch with Mark Baxter and request to set one up. So I know that there's quite a few in the country, but we're certainly not nationwide. So I think it's a very nice thing to do. So.
Sadia, our volunteer coordinator, is also here today. So if you can't find or don't get time with Mark, please look out Sadia and have a chat with her. Rachel?
I think for me it's through all the different speakers that we've had in our Manchester group. I've had quite a few Paralympians, and I think for me one thing that's stuck in my head is it's about the ability you have in life, not your disability, and that's stuck with me. So yes, we might be sight impaired, but you can do anything if you put your mind to it. And you know, for the families and those that are supporting us living sight loss, there is support out there for you as well. You know, you're not alone. Just get in touch. There's lots of us here today. Come on, chat to us all. And, you know, the support and the love in the room is immense.
Thank you. And Steve?
I would say don't be afraid to reach out to Retina UK. I mean, if you've just been diagnosed and you don't really know what to do, reach out to Retina UK, go on their website, phone them up. Once you've spoken to one of their volunteers, you'll feel so much better.
Thanks. And Michelle?
I'm going to echo what everyone else has said and just say, reach out. There will be a support group for you, whether it's peer support, talking support, discover wellbeing. There'll be something that will fit you and what you need. Just be brave. And, you know, we all did it. We all started somewhere. So, yeah, just come and have a chat with us today or give us a ring.
Thank you. And we're constantly developing new services at Retina UK. We're currently developing our services for younger people, aged 18 to 30. For parents as well. You know, we're here for parents and other family members. We're developing new services. So talk to us, make sure we understand what you need, and we can sort out how we can best support you in whatever way that is for you. You know, everybody in the room is different, and your support needs will be different, and they will come at different times. We've talked earlier about points of impact, and a number of you may have recognised yourselves in those conversations and what we heard from Helen and Denise this morning. If you don't need support right now, just remember that the charity is here for you at any point that is right for you, and you can pick up the phone and access support. So if we can thank our fantastic panellists, and then we'll go to some questions. Any questions?
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for this opportunity. I'm Krishna, and I'm also a talk and support volunteer. Based on my own personal experience and based on my basically conversation with another lady, you know, whom I was trying to support through this talk and support scheme. One barrier I think we are not able to break is a social stigma. Like, for example, people, you know, when look at somebody like me who's blind, probably the main thing that comes to the focus seems to be that I'm blind, I'm not able to see. But as a person who I am, what I can do, and whether a good person or not, those attributes, you know, they don't seem to be appreciated actually. So I just want to ask, you know, all my volunteer friends there, what's their experience with regard to the social stigma, and how kind of they're trying to break it, you know? Yeah.
Pam?
I think...
Thank you.
Krishna, thank you. I think from my own personal experience, you have to keep raising the awareness. We've got to keep tirelessly campaigning, and it eventually will sink in. So it's planting the seed. I come from, obviously, second generation Asian, and the stigma about disability was never more inherent when I walked into a room with my family, with my pink cane, who's retired now. And I have to tell you, do you know, the looks I got, the nodding of the head, bouncing sideways, oh, what happened to her? But they weren't speaking to me, they were speaking to my mum. And I did say to them, I'm not dead, I'm still here, and I can still hear you. But it's actually raising, it depends on generations, and it depends, it's just raising the bar a bit more. And like I said, I'm not a shy wallflower, and I will push back until I get a response. It might not be a nice one, but my father and my mum is here today, which is bless her, couldn't be more proud of what I'm doing for the community. And it's also raising awareness that disability doesn't discriminate. It'll attach itself to whoever, whatever age. It's how we navigate with the tools that we've got, and Retina UK are the most forward-thinking, honest, approachable charity, apart from the others that we know of, that I know. I have to say that because I don't want to upset anyone, but I have to say that, you know, for me personally, we have to keep pushing the boundaries, and hopefully it will sink into the next generation coming up, that it can happen to anyone at any stage in life.
Yeah. Thank you, Pam. Thank you. I think we've got a question from home.
We have. There's a few that have actually come through. So one is my mum lives on her own, but she's not very good with the computer. I think the peer support groups would be of great benefit to her. Is it only available online?
So, does anybody want me to take that one? Yeah? Okay, so we have in-person peer support groups. We've got a network of those around the country. If you'd like to go to the information and support stand, if you're in the room, you can find out where they are. For the person who's asking the question from home, we can certainly send them a link to where the local peer support groups are if they'd like to attend in person. If not, as Michelle's told us, there is a talk and support service, the opportunity to have a regular telephone call with someone. So I'd suggest that they get in touch, as we've said, maybe through the helpline, or we can send a link and have a conversation. By having that conversation, we can work out what the best support is.
Can people join the peer support groups via the telephone, or is it just on the computer?
The online ones, yes.
So they can dial in.
They don't have to use a computer. They can dial in by phone to the meeting.
Great.
Just to say there, we do have quite a few when we've done our online Manchester group and also the Talking Travel peer support group. People have dialed in via telephone, so there is that opportunity to do that.
Thank you. Any more questions? We've got one in the room, and then we'll go to the one at home then. Matt.
Hi, my name is Marcus. I was just wondering if there's a support group for music and musicians, and if not, could I maybe get involved somehow?
We don't have one specifically for music and musicians at the moment, but if you're interested in being involved, then yeah, let's have a conversation while you're here today. So Mark is wearing a white and blue striped t-shirt. If one of the team would like to find him in the break. We won't let him out the room actually for his lunch until he's had a chat.
Just to say also, Paula, Marcus is part of my Manchester group.
Okay.
So we'll later on over dinner, Marcus, we'll have a chat about that as well. I'll pin you down. When we're having a drink and something to eat this evening, we'll have a chat about it as well.
But this is what it's about. You know, this is what I've said. We need to provide what you as a community want. And if music, in fact, we know that many of our community are very talented musicians. You'll know yourselves that many people with sight loss are incredibly talented when it comes to music. So I can certainly imagine that there would be demand for that. So let's have that conversation. Thank you.
Yeah, I think, sorry to say...
Can you wait for a microphone, please, before you speak? Otherwise, people at home can't hear.
Yeah, wonderful. You know that question that regarding the music. I'm also well into music actually. I mean, I'm from Glasgow, but no problem at all. I would like to join with Manchester and join this initiative and kind of make my either cause contribution or contribution, doesn't matter. Certainly, I would like to join the forum and basically see where it goes. Yeah.
Great.
Thanks a lot for that.
This is what happens when we get together, you know. Again, this is the second time today that we've made matches in the room with people, and this is what it's about. So thank you. I think we have a question from home.
Yeah, we certainly do. We've had a couple more come through, actually. So I found all of your stories really encouraging, and I'd love to attend the group, but I'm not very confident travelling on my own, particularly to new areas. Can my partner attend too?
Paula?
Yeah?
We welcome partners, carers, dogs, all of the feline friends, whoever you want to bring. We encourage it because it gives them a sense of belonging as well. So whether it's online or face-to-face, everybody is welcome. So depending on which area, please reach out and we're more than happy to accommodate. The other thing I'd like to say as well, that when it brings the partners together, it kind of gives them confidence and relaxes them that they are part of the community, even though they are supporting their, I don't know, whoever has got the sight loss, that they belong as well. So it affects them too every day.
Rachel?
Just to sort of reiterate that, so with our group, partners have come along, friends, carers, and when they've come along for the first time, it's then given the person coming to the group the reassurance that the group is a nice group, they're friendly, they're approachable, and then their partner hasn't come, you know, to other meetings. So if the partner isn't available, or the friend or family member, if they bring them for the first time, after that, moving forward, you know, we have a few in our group where they've brought a friend or a family member to begin with, got to know the group, and now meet at the local station or in the, you know, in the centre of Manchester and travel together. So there's that as well. So
I have to be honest. When we've met, we pick a location which is central where everyone can meet. I'm always kind of mindful of costings because it costs, you know, people to come out. But we all meet, and I always wear a high-vis jacket, so you know. If the partners are with them, you can't miss me, really, even if I can't see it. So. But we try and meet, you know, where everyone is safe and where the transportation links are good. As we know, transportation isn't very good at the moment. So, but yeah, so it's just keeping everything, you know, right down to the last detail. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Any more questions?
There was just one last from home, but I think we kind of covered it almost, but I'll ask the same anyway. Is it okay to join an online group and just listen? I'm quite shy, so I don't feel very confident speaking online.
Steve, would you like to?
Yeah, well, when I first joined the online groups, I didn't say a word. In fact, I didn't speak to Mark during one of the meetings. I just sent him a message via WhatsApp after the meeting because he added his phone number in case you wanted to contact him. So that was my first real contact with Mark. So, yeah, don't be shy. If you want to get in touch that way, that's fine.
So nobody's going to make you feel uncomfortable. Nobody's going to expect you to speak at a meeting. Everybody's going to be respectful of whatever's comfortable for you. Okay. Any more questions? Can I just do? Oh, sorry, Pam.
I just wanted to say yesterday, as today, is please could we also say thank you to the silent support that Mark gets from Caroline, because she's an absolute avid member of the team. I hope you're in the room, Caroline, because I think you're... And I would like to say to all the silent people... Sorry, I'm going red. I can feel myself blushing. Everyone who supports us, our quiet support workers, family members, everyone, and Retina UK. So thank you.
Thank you. So we did something similar for the professionals who attended yesterday's event, and I put Mark on the spot yesterday and invited him to come down. So I did actually give him a warning today that we were going to do this. So
this could take a while then.
Sadia, is Sadia in the room? Yeah, Sadia, do you want to just pop down as well? Just so, so Sadia is our new volunteer. I haven't briefed Sadia, so I do apologise. I'm sure you'll have a word with me later. Sadia is our volunteer coordinator, and I'm sure would be happy to have a chat with anybody today. Mark, do you just want to... I always joke when Mark's got the microphone, because as many of you who know Mark know that Mark likes to chat. So, Mark, we've got just a few minutes until lunch, so if you want to keep your friends in the room, then I'd keep it fairly brief. But do you want to just say a few words, Mark?
I kept it to a minimum yesterday, so shall I stand up? I'll stand up. Well, I've got RP, and I've had it since 1990 when I was diagnosed, and I never got peer support until I did... I think Denise mentioned the Sahara Trek back in 2009, and I was on that trek. And I got to meet loads of new people, meet people with the same condition, the same frustrations and the same challenges. I've been working alongside RP Fighting Blindness, the British Retina Society, and now Retina UK for nearly 20 years now, starting with fundraising changes like the London Marathon, the Trek, and I've now done my 5th skydive for them at the beginning of the year. And we've recently members of the team, we just completed an 18-mile walk as well through London. And it just gets me to meet other people just like yourselves in the room. And the opportunity to work for Retina UK come about after 2 years worth of volunteering just on the talking support and the helpline, just like you've heard today. Matt and Denise took a chance of me back in 2021 to come and help grow the peer support groups and the talking support service. And it's been a whirlwind. 3 years on, it's been an absolute whirlwind. I've met so many amazing people, created loads of new groups, and I can't do it without the support of our volunteers, our amazing team, you, our community. You're amazing. You bring your experiences, you bring your challenges, your frustrations to the table, you share your tips and hints and information, and that's what it's all about, because we want our community to be a better version than they were the day before. So thank you, everyone. Caroline has been my rock. She's always to the left of me, or you might actually see her ear, maybe, on camera if we're online. She's that sweet voice that answers your questions, and without her support, you want to stand up? Come on, stand up. Stand up. She is my support, so thank you very much, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Please do have a chat with any of the team. As I say, Sadia's here. Have a chat with Sadia about volunteering. Anybody can talk to you about the provision we applied. You haven't got to stand in a really long queue for Mark. But I do believe we're off to lunch, Lauren, is that right? Thank you, everybody.
Yes,